everyone, my name is Holly and I'm the editor of International Airport Review, and I'm joined here by Videh Kumar Jaipuriar, the CEO of Delhi International Airport, for this exclusive interview. For those of you that don't know, Videh is the winner of International Airport Review's Person of the Year award. So firstly, I just want to say a huge congratulations to you, Videh, for winning the award, which received over 4,000 votes.
Thank you, Holly. It is an honor to win this award, because this is something which the whole team has done a lot of work during this period, and it is an award to their effort, to their dedication, because even in the peak of COVID-19, we were still completely operational, because we had medical cargo which was going through our airport. We had evacuation flights which were running. So we still had our people on the ground and making sure that everything goes smooth. So it's all recognition to their efforts than any individual actually being honored.
So the first question I have for you is, you were nominated for your exemplary leadership in managing and steering Delhi Airport through the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about your leadership strategy during this time?
Especially during a crisis, and possibly this was one of the biggest crises that the whole aviation sector has seen for a while, because world's 12th busiest airport suddenly having zero passenger traffic is something that we could never have imagined. Everybody was shocked. During this shock, the most important thing was to show that we are in control, because if you start panicking, after that your whole team starts panicking, they don't know what to do. But to be in control, first thing that we had to do was take a stock of the situation, and a stock of the situation on various counts, and then find out quick solutions so that confidence level of your own employees actually gets restored. So we formed an agile task force where we brought in 1 or 2 experts even from outside, as well as it was represented by all the departments who are involved in running the airport. And there it was a daily activity, and we used to take a stock of the situation, what is happening on ground in terms of actual spread of COVID, what is happening in terms of all the medical supplies which were routed through Delhi, what is happening to different services, is it getting affected because of COVID, what are the various other health and safety measures that we put in place. So all this was getting discussed. And we basically framed our COVID response into 5 key elements, that these are the things which are going to help us manage the whole COVID scenario better. What we call as people. We had to manage our people. They have to be healthy and able to go to the work. Processes. So we looked at various processes. There was a change and we knew that it's going to evolve further. So what are the most healthy processes which are going to ensure continuity of business? The place had to be re-looked at, that how do we actually make it more healthy? So for example, our terminals, we used to have air circulation once in 3 hours, the complete air was replaced. From there, we changed it to 6 times in an hour, so that you have got that much of fresh air inducted. We put down policies in place that who can come for work, who cannot come for work, how do you ensure that there is business continuity. And we communicated to the whole set of stakeholders, because airport is about stakeholders. So we had different teams working on these different themes, and we were monitoring on a daily basis. Any decision that needs to be taken was maximum 24 hours delayed, not beyond that. So that kind of agility and that kind of getting everybody together, putting all your heads together and trying to find solution and being in control was something which actually helped us.
And how did you ensure business continuity? Do you have any success stories?
Yes, we have many success stories, because the kind of things that we faced was something which was unimaginable. There's a complete lockdown declared. People were not allowed to go out. There were curfew imposed in various cities in Delhi as well as nearby cities, and a lot of our people live in the nearby cities also. And we had to operate the airport because this was the only way to get medical supplies across the country. We were getting testing kits, we were getting PPE kits. We had to get all of them redistributed. So we had to get people to the work. So getting people to the work, and how do you ensure that you don't get into a situation where the operation becomes not possible. So first we said, okay, let's divide the team. Since the operation level is low, let's divide the team into team A and team B, so that you have got 100% backup at all the times. And team A never happens to meet team B. And as soon as team A leaves the workplace, the whole thing needs to be sanitized before the team B comes in. So basically segregating the two teams. We built up a control room because that is something which was required for confidence level of the employees. Because if the employee is sick, or there is somebody in his family who is sick, and at that time, the person didn't know who to call because all the hospitals were full. There was no support available. So we had all the medical supplies. We had our doctors 24/7. And this control room also 24/7, helping the employees. Then the biggest challenge was, how do you get the employees from home to the workplace? So some of the critical employees, in fact, we provided them with an accommodation at the airport itself, so that you don't have to go home, you can straight away come in. Then we worked with government to declare airport services as essential services during curfew. So you could take an airport entry pass and you could go through the curfew. And this control room provided transportation because there was no transportation available. So there were a lot of people who didn't have their own vehicle. So in fact, we were sending pickup vehicle to get people across for work. So that was the first part. Second part was about ensuring health protocol at the airport, because we didn't want these people to come and then get infected, and get the morale of the family also. In fact, I always narrate this particular story that one of our employees, he had a 9-year-old daughter. She calls up our HR department one of these days that, why is that you're calling my father to the office? It is very dangerous. He can get infected. I can lose him. So this is very inhuman. Simple thing that we conveyed to that girl was, see, your father is coming because he is a COVID warrior. He is the one who is helping us. Actually, we distribute all the medical supplies. Without that, we won't be able to support anybody who is going to be tested positive for COVID. So we understand that you're worried, but please understand he's doing a much larger work than actually coming to the airport. It was seen very positively, and that is the spirit that people worked with. That is the kind of dedication people worked with. Then next one was basically, how do you ensure cash flows? Because cash was something which is king in this kind of a crisis. So in terms of financial resilience also, we were checking almost on a daily basis and trying to ensure that the cash flow actually keeps going. So effectively, I will put it as 4 different things that we looked at for business continuity. The topmost was ensuring employee health, employee well-being. Second was ensuring all the stakeholders' well-being at the workplace. Third was ensuring that we have got continued operation by creating backups, team A, team B, as well as getting important people to stay nearby. And finally, financial management.
What have been your immediate priorities, would you say?
Immediate priority at that time was to ensure that employee morale, employee health is at the top, because people not coming to workplace, in fact, that was also depressing, because people have been coming to the work for the last 20 years and suddenly they have been asked that you sit home and work. That is depressing. Not meeting up with colleagues is depressing. So there was a lot of psychological issues also that we were anticipating. So we managed it by doing two things. One, involving people in finding a solution to the problem. So in fact, we encouraged people to come out with ideas that how do we actually create a much safer work environment? Post-COVID, what do you think should be done, which we should go to government and we should actually suggest them. So we had various workshops for that. And there were people who used to come out with brilliant ideas. In fact, some of them actually helped us innovate quite a bit. And we gave those suggestions to the government, which government also took up. Second thing was to have some sort of an engagement of these people to ensure that they are mentally in the top. So in fact, we had a lot of online sessions on mindfulness, online sessions on different kind of learning and growth, which earlier they were not able to attend. So these things really helped. And we had many R&R sessions also online. So the main focus was to ensure that employee morale, employee health are in the top gear. And in fact, even during the second wave, which was a much sharper wave than the first one, we had said that whatever comes, whichever medicine is required, we will procure from. And the kind of support that we gave to all our employees, in fact, are even today talking about it, that company went out of the way to support them and their family.
Absolutely. So how has the passenger experience in Delhi Airport actually changed during the pandemic? And how do you think it will look in the future?
Passenger experience, now the basic mentality that we have seen of the passengers is they have become more health conscious. So that is something which is going to stay for good. And for that, the typical health measures that different airports have used, I think we need to continue with that. Second thing is that in terms of technology adoption, because with pandemic, there is a sense that, okay, there are a lot of technology. I don't have to go through all the hassle of all physical contact and doing everything physically. It can be contactless. So adoption of contactless technology is going to be that much higher. And we need to be very agile in that to ensure that we keep on upgrading that. In terms of communication, because that is something that even the people who have been regular travelers, they were confused that what are the various kinds of new measures, new things that keep on coming. So you need to communicate. In fact, that is something which helped us reduce a lot of anxiety of passengers. We have got a 24/7 command center for social media. And in fact, we ensure that every post that comes on the social media, any handle, we respond what we call as a first response time, FRT. Ours is the best across the world of 7 minutes. 7 minutes, you will get a response. So a lot of queries used to come. In fact, Facebook gave us a badge because of our quick response time. But 90% of them get resolved if you just listen to them, you just guide them to the right website. So that is going to be something which has to be a focus.
So India has managed to bring the spread of COVID-19 under control and will reopen its borders to fully vaccinated tourists from the 15th of November. How are you preparing to receive international traffic, and how do you see the recovery of this?
Actually, we are very excited that government has taken this decision, because this is a very, very positive decision of issuing the tourist visa. Because Delhi Airport used to be the hub of close to about 30 to 40% of all foreign tourists arriving in India used to go through Delhi Airport. As far as their arrival process is concerned, their arrival process, in fact, has been eased. There is a latest SOP which has eased the arrival process if the person is pre-vaccinated, and that vaccine is WHO approved or inter-country approved. You might be aware that we currently already have a recovery of about 35 to 40% of international travel through bubble arrangement. We have bubble arrangement with 28 countries. So we have gone through various types of health protocols and safety protocols. And we have handled similar numbers or plus minus 10% numbers for the last 2 months. We are well prepared in terms of any new SOPs, any new protocols that comes in, because now in the last 1.5 years, we have handled them all. It's only bigger numbers, and we are quite ready with the kind of space, the kind of SOPs that needs to be put in.
So what are the challenges that you personally foresee for the next year?
Challenges, the main challenges that we see is going to be on 3 fronts, I will say. Firstly, establishing health protocol between different countries, because there, whether it is IATA travel pass, whether it is some other common pass, but fact is that the 2 governments have to talk to each other and agree on a particular health protocol, which is going to take a longest period of time. So that is where complete revival of international travel will take some time. Second challenge that I see is in terms of evolving technology, because of pandemic and because of various challenges, technology has changed a lot in the last 1.5 years. So in terms of big investment in technology is something that all the airports will have to make. And finally, the financial challenges, because 1.5 years, possibly another 1 year or 1.5 years to go before we come back to pre-COVID level. So that has put a lot of stress as far as the overall financials are concerned. Because as you are aware that 80 to 85% of airport cost is fixed cost. So most of the airports have suffered that. So to come out of that financial burden, that is going to be one challenge for the possibly subsequent 2 years or 3 years.
I guess I don't really want to talk about the challenges without thinking about some positives. So, I mean, do you see any opportunities potentially for the future?
Yes, one of the opportunities, and that basically comes from looking at data between the after the first wave of pandemic and second wave of pandemic. We do passenger profiling. So initially, after first wave of pandemic, we saw that most of the travelers were visiting friends and relatives. Leisure traveler was 0, and business traveler were only people who had, like, if they don't go there, it will shut down kind of guys. But post second wave, then we saw that suddenly, as soon as the wave declined a little bit, leisure travel started with a big bang. And a lot of the people who travel were possibly using some other mode of transport, who had switched over to air transport, feeling that air transport is safer. So I definitely see that opportunity, that air transport being safer is something which is going to propel our growth further. So another thing that we have realized during this crisis is looking at our overall cost structure. And typically, as you know, that there is no cost which is fixed in nature, because given particular circumstances or given particular period of time, all costs can be made variable. So what we have learned is that how do we become more financially resilient, which is going to improve overall airport profitability once the traffic comes back to normal. Because now we know how to work with lower resources and how our resources can be made flexible. Third is that passenger convenience or passenger focus is something which is becoming that much more important, especially during this crisis. We have seen that passengers, even after reopening everything, they needed a confirmation that it's safe to travel. So I see a lot of work being done in improving passenger experience at various airports.
I think many airport leaders, listening to this interview, they will want to know what your lessons learned are from the pandemic. So could you talk a little bit about that and how you're looking to actually future-proof, the business of the airport?
Actually, COVID-19 is a living example of VUCA, because we had only been listening about VUCA in the past, but actually this whole thing has shown us that what is VUCA, because the impact was catastrophic and the path of recovery is full of ambiguities and uncertainties. However, this has basically helped us learn more about crisis management, resilience, human resilience, as well as organizational resilience, financial resilience as well as operational resilience. And agility is another thing which has to be valued right up there, because the way the things were changed, the way the various SOPs used to get changed overnight, overall agility for any organization, whether it is airport or it is airlines, is a must. So what we have learned is that we have to be very agile. We have to build more and more resilience, and we have to document all these learnings. So in fact, we have documented all these learnings that in future, if there is something similar situation comes in, then you have got possibly a sort of docket ready of do's and don'ts, which you need to keep on revising.
That's really interesting. I like the idea that you're handing down the knowledge to the next generation, you know, so that they don't forget. So India will be the fastest growing aviation market in the world over the next 2 decades. What does the future look like for Delhi Airport, and how do you think you need to evolve to actually keep up and capitalize on this growth?
You're absolutely right that India has been the fastest growing aviation market, especially domestic aviation market. I think we were already number 3 and almost a double-digit growth. And this has happened because of various factors. One of the key factors is overall economic growth and the penetration of flying. Like I have got less than 5% penetration of air travel in the population. So as the overall income level, disposable income level goes up, there are going to be more and more people flying. And government is creating infrastructure for that. And in line with government, in fact, even Delhi Airport has been in the forefront of expanding the facilities to make sure that we are future-proof. So, for example, currently we have an overall capacity of terminal of about 74 million. We are already in the expansion phase to actually take it to 100 million. Even airside, we are increasing the capacity by putting a 4th runway to make sure that my airside capacity goes to 140 million. This being in an infrastructure industry, there is a gestation period, there is a time that it takes for you to upgrade your facilities. We are trying to be ahead of that. That is one. Second, in terms of passenger experience, which I have talked so much about. So we are trying to understand the various requirements of passengers in the new normal, which we can incorporate in the design, because fortunately we are in the execution stage. So in 2 years' time, my new terminal is going to be ready. And all the learnings from here, we will be able to actually put in over there. And overall, what we are looking at is that there are a lot of passengers who earlier used to take transit flight to travel to most of the other destinations. So for example, from India to the North America, most of people would transit through Europe. But with the pandemic, there is a mindset that less number of airports I get in touch with, better it is. So there is a probability that my long distance travel is going to get a boom. So how do I ensure that there is a good D to I travel facility, transit facility, is something that has emerged as a new requirement. So we are basically anticipating what is going to be the overall reaction, overall way that the passenger is going to work, and keeping ourselves ready with that, making sure I have got enough capacity to handle the demand, because we always had demand, we were not able to meet many a times. So we are ensuring we are ahead of the curve this time.
Absolutely. I think that's how it was in the golden days, that everyone was complaining that they didn't have enough capacity to meet this huge demand. So it's really good to see that you're going to be prepared for this future growth. In your opinion, then, what do airports need to do to pull themselves through the pandemic and out the other side?
Most important part that the whole aviation sector has to play is to get the passengers back to flying. So This is the airport, and the whole aviation community has to work together to make that happen. Second thing that the community has to look at is overall cost reduction, because more or variabilizing the cost. More cost is variable, more future-proof you are in terms of whether it goes downwards or upwards. And third, I see is that keep a track of the evolving consumer needs, evolving passenger needs, and make sure that the whole aviation sector is meeting up with those requirements, because that is something which is going to build that additional confidence, and hence the growth will come back.
I guess the final question I want to ask you, Videh, is are you positive for the future?
Absolutely, because that is the reason why we are expanding our terminal capacity by 50% and our airside capacity by 100%. So only a short-term hiccup. Only thing that it has done is that it has pushed us back by 2 years, and but later on, I think the growth is going to continue the way it was pre-COVID.
Great, thank you so much, Videh. That was all of my questions. Thank you so much for joining me, and congratulations to you once again for being our Person of the Year.
Thank you, Oli, and it was really nice talking to you.